This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people who stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Join High Tech with Corey K. weekly here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. From the world of computers to the ever-popular computerized gadgetry that are becoming part of our everyday life and living and society. From kids and their gaming devices, teens and their smartphones, to the applications of personal and business computers. From hardware to software, from standalone units to network computers. Join high-tech guru Corey K. weekly right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network as he takes on the topics that will be of use and great value to the international audience of the X Zone Broadcast Network. High Tech with Corey K. weekends at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere. 24/7, 365.
The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. And just before we get to our next guest of this hour, Robert Bruce, for all you Nighthawks, or for those of you working late night shift or early morning shift in other parts of the world or in the United States or Canada, this is what you have coming up tonight as we open up the X Zone vaults nightly from 2 in the morning, or should I say daily, from 2 in the morning until 10 in the morning, right here in the Eastern Time Zone. So let me see. In hour number 1, we have Robert Garcia going to be talking about elite paranormal. Dave Glidden from the 4-State Paranormal. Gwilda Wiyaka is going to be talking about the nature of reality. Christopher Jacobs is going to be talking about aliens, healings, and more. The next hour, BJ Booth talking about UFOs, followed by Paul Dale Roberts from Halo Paranormal Investigations, Frank Rigolo from Spectra Seekers, and in the final hour, which would be 9 until 10 Eastern, in about what, 8 hours from now, 9 hours from now, Becky Giddison from Tucson Ghost Tours. That's still to come tonight or this morning on the X-Zone, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the IPBN Radio Network, or on TalkStream Live. All right, Robert Bruce is my guest. He's been on the show before, a great guy. He's the author of several groundbreaking books, starting with his magnum opus, Astral Dynamics, which was originally published in 1999 and the second edition in 2010 with, get this, X-Zone Nation, 200,000 books sold worldwide, followed by the Psychic Self-Defense Handbook and Energy Work. Rob also co-authored the classic Mastering Astral Projection, a 90-day guide to OBE with Brian Mercer. Robert Bruce is a true spiritual pioneer of our times. He has spent his life pondering the big questions and exploring the great mysteries such as the afterlife experience, the human energy body, the out-of-body experience, Kundalini, psychic security, demonology, and the nature of non-physical species and spirit beings. Joining me now from that land down under, Australia, is Robert Bruce. And Robert, welcome back to the X-Zone. How are things in the land down under, Australia?
G'day, Rob. It's cold and wet here at the moment.
Oh, well, wait a second.
Australia.
Okay, hold on here. What do you consider cold?
Well, it's down to about 20 degrees centigrade.
Oh, my goodness. So that's about, what, 72 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. My heart bleeds for you, my friend. I'll send you some snow from our winter. You want to know what cold is? It's so cold here in Hamilton that the bronze statues that we have downtown, they put pants on and winter coats. That's how cold it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been over there many, many times, and I couldn't live there in winter. Well, I'd just be housebound in front of the fire. Yeah.
Exactly. Robert, based on all the years that you've been pondering this life of ours, the great mysteries that perplex many of us each and every day, has there been one mystery that you have focused on more than the others? And if so, could you tell us which one it is?
Probably psychic self-defense. Because the world at large probably knows about 1% of what is going on. And the bulk of it, that even is hidden beneath mysticism and religious concepts.
Right.
And I probably know 10%. But there's a huge area there to explore, just understanding the different types of negative entities and how they operate, their limitations, and, of course, their weaknesses, which is what I mainly focus on.
All right, so psychic defense means that we get attacked psychically, or do we get drained psychically, and how does this happen?
Well, it can occur from human being to human being, what I call human on human, and that can be very nasty. But the worst attacks are the, I call them negs, negative inorganic beings, spirit beings of all types there. And you have the whole range there from the mildly annoying types up to the higher entities, archdemon types, which are, of course, very, very nasty. But there's a huge number of species out there. It's like going into the deep ocean and exploring there. You know, you have thousands of different species. They eat different things. They have different behavioral patterns. It's absolutely fascinating if you can, if you can get over the fear.
I would love to be able to experience that. Can you just imagine going down into one of the Ariana's Trenches areas and for the very first time seeing these rarely ever seen creatures that live down there in a world that we have hardly scratched the surface of investigating. I believe that we know more about outer space than we do what's in our very own oceans.
Great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very much like that. Hardly anybody has been there, and very, very little is known about it. And what we do know is mostly mythology, and it's very little truth to it when you get down to it.
How important is mythology to the human species?
Well, I think it gives us a record of human thinking, and it hasn't really changed very much for thousands of years when dealing with the paranormal.
Right.
It's only fairly recently that people have started to take a bit more of an objective view of it, with the coming of parapsychologists and like investigative reporting into these areas. Because the religious overlay that we have, having in the West here a Judeo-Christian kind of overlay, these are like lenses which we view the world through. You come from other countries, you have a different overlay and gives you a slightly different perspective of it. But I think it is largely due to the fear.
Yeah.
Is one of them. There is an instinctive fear when you encounter any kind of spirit being, whether they're good or bad. If you encounter a ghost, it might be the ghost of your parent coming to say hello. But if you see a ghost, you have this instinctive fear reaction and you want to run out of the building screaming and not go back. So you have to overcome that before you can start to come to grips with it.
Is that inherent in us? Is that part of our DNA that if we see a ghost, we run like hell because it scares the hell out of us?
I think it is.
Yeah.
In the same way that we have an instinctive fear of snakes and spiders. And, things that we don't understand, an instinctive fear of the dark. These are widespread fears in most, if not all, human beings at a young age. It's kind of genetic.
When investigating or researching the paranormal these days, there are so many topics. There are, let me see if I can just, you've got UFOs, you've got aliens, you have alien contact, alien abduction. Then you've got ghost hauntings, demons, exorcisms. Then you go into Satanology, satanic rituals, black magic, Wicca, witchcraft, and the list is endless. Why are we so interested in these topics? I can see the interest growing each and every month. Now, I've been doing this show now for 25 years. And I remember when I started, one of the station managers says, you're just wasting my time and your time. This is nonsense. You're here today, gone tomorrow. And I had the opportunity of running into that very same station manager a couple of years ago, and he said, if I knew then what I know now, I would have never let you go.
Yeah.
So how do we explain it? Hollywood has been putting out these great movies, Independence Day, Poltergeist, the Amityville Horror, and the list goes on and on and on. There are so many great books out on the paranormal and science fiction based on the paranormal. And of course, the internet is just beaming with paranormal topics, paranormal websites, paranormal groups, paranormal chats. What are we doing that keeps us so interested in this topic? Why?
Well, I think over the last 100 years or so, the widespread education of the population, where just about everybody can read today, and the communications have come a long way in the last 100 years, from books and photographs to videos and movies. And of course, these are very interesting topics because there is a huge range to explore. These are not well-known things, so it's an opportunity for everybody that gets involved with this to explore, and with the hope of discovering something new. And I think that's part of it. I mean, a lot of people just find it fascinating. I mean, freaky is fascinating for the same reason that people love Halloween and they love horror movies and things that scare them, safe things that scare them. There is a natural fascination with the spirit dimensions and our interactions with them.
Could part of it be that humans want to know that if we fail, there is a deity, there is an entity, there is an alien that at the very last moment before we go to hell in a handbasket, bang, they're going to appear, solve all our problems, and everybody's going to sing Kumbaya in front of a fire and roast some marshmallows.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's mostly wishful thinking, and again, you have this huge mythological overlay on these sort of things. But, I mean, death comes into it as well. I mean, we are all mortal beings.
Yeah.
And everybody in the world one day will die. And we want to know, where we're going, what it's like, what we can do. We want travel guides and that.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't get them. There's so many conflicting opinions about what happens when you die. And death is, in my opinion, a very, very greatly misunderstood. It is, if you look at, there is a direct parallel between life and sleeping and dreaming and dying and dreaming. Because when a person dies, an aspect of them begins to dream. Now, this is generally called the Bardo realms. When you die, you enter the Bardo realms where it's a realm of illusion. And you see the parallel between being alive, going to bed, going to sleep, and dreaming. Mm-hmm. And then with death, you leave your physical body, it dies, and you start dreaming in the afterlife. It's the same thing. The Bardo realms are dreaming. You get this relationship here.
Sure.
And this is what happens to the average person, the majority of people. And you dream your life. It's just like normal dreaming, but of course it doesn't stop. And you fragment into multiple aspects of yourself. If you're familiar with my mind split effect that occurs during astral projection and altered states of consciousness, where the physical body goes to sleep while you are still conscious. You could be sitting, if you meditate, everybody that meditates, you sit quietly and your body starts to feel heavy, and because your physical body goes to sleep. And while you are still conscious, meditating, doing whatever you're doing, doing mantras or holding your mind clear, your dream mind activates and you start dreaming at the same time. And sometimes this impinges on consciousness, causes visions and things like that. But understanding these things, you have to understand there are parallels between what happens in physical reality and what happens in the afterlife.
So,
yeah.
Can we interpret this as daydreaming then?
Well, daydreaming can be a part of that because when you're daydreaming, you're generally a bit tired and you're sitting usually or standing. I've been known to fall asleep standing up against a wall in my youth.
Oh, I love how you threw that in my youth.
Yeah, in my 20s, yeah. I'm 61 now, so it's a long time ago.
You're still young.
Yeah, but it's fascinating area to work in. It really is.
So let me ask you this. When it comes to aliens, UFOs, extraterrestrials, what is your opinion based on your studies and based on your research?
Well, my way is called the Way of the Master. And this was given to me by a master, a spirit being that materialized to me about 17 years ago, and explained the Way of the Master has always been the same way and always will be the same way because there is no other way. And that is to proceed through your own personal experience only. And I was instructed to redefine my belief systems to include only personal experience. And at that time, I was blocked from going any further in my exploration of the greater reality. And the first thing he told me, he says, you're blinding yourself with your own beliefs, and you have to get my beliefs organized. And I ended up with 1, 2, 3 lists. One was my core beliefs, which were in my heart, and these had to be based upon personal experience only. And if there's a one-off experience there, I have to put an asterisk next to it in the list to state that it's a one-off, just in case. Now, the next list is probabilities, things which I think are probably true, but I don't have enough personal experience in order to take it into my core beliefs. And the final list are possibilities, things I think are possible, but again, not enough personal experience to take that any further. And this started to take effect quite quickly after I started doing this 17 years ago. And I mean, I did it immediately, or the next morning, I should say, because I've learned that you don't argue with the big guys. It's just too painful. Because usually when they give you some advice, it's because, if you don't do this, it's going to cause you an enormous amount of pain and problems. But things like UFOs and that, of course, I mean, my earliest normal memory was when I was about probably just turned 4 years of age. And I woke up in bed one night with this horrible paralysis and this vibration going through my body. It's a bit like the astral projection type vibrations, but this is a type that set your teeth on edge.
Wow.
Like if you bite into aluminum or paper, it puts a shiver up and down your spine. It was like that. And there's me, 4 years old, paralyzed with this horrible vibration. I come wide awake, and I managed to, there was a light coming from above my right shoulder. And I twisted around to have a look at this, and I now know I was actually moving inside my own skin. I wasn't physically moving. I was in my astral body, which hadn't separated. And I rolled around and looked up at where the light was coming from, and there was a large ET of the insectoid variety that looked a bit like a praying mantis with the big triangular head and the big eyes. And it had a ball of a pulsating light beside it, about the size of a basketball. And I looked around and looked at this thing. Hell, I was only 4 years old. And, I'm sort of agape for a few seconds. And then it looked at me, moved its head, looked at me and saw I was awake, reached down and tweaked the glowing basketball thing, and I was out like a light again. Now, the interesting thing here was a short time afterwards, probably a few days afterwards, I had my first spontaneous astral projection where I floated out of my body, but a light buzzing and a light falling sensation, floated out of my body and started floating around the house, feet first, as if I was still in bed. And I remember at the time that I'd had that freaky vibrating, uncomfortable vibration paralysis for many, many times before that had happened. And but this one time here was a one-off when I turned around and saw the ET. And logic tells me now, coming fast forward about 55 years or so, that the ET was doing something to me because of these frequent experiences I had. And those sorts of experiences of the paralysis and the vibrations continued until my early 20s. Just spontaneously. And I have to say that the ETs deliberately altered me in some way using something like high-tech hemisync, which are altered state inducing sounds and vibrations. Because if you look what I've accomplished since then, and I mean, tens of thousands of out-of-body experiences and you name it, it's just been, there's something different about me. And I think something was altered in me to maybe increase my level of consciousness or tweaking the area that is responsible for astral projection, psychic abilities, and things like that.
Why do you think you were chosen?
I have no idea. I really don't. That's a mystery to me. Because, I mean, I've lived my life pretty much like everybody else. It's just that when I do these things, now keep in mind, I didn't just sit down and start having paranormal experiences and that. I mean, I really worked at it. I mean, meditating and energy work for 2-3 hours a day, sometimes longer. I've done a great deal of water fasting in my life where I don't eat for anywhere from a day to 30 days.
Wow.
And other spiritual practices. I mean, so these things didn't really come easily to me like you may have thought. Astral projection came easily to me, but everything else I had to really work for.
You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour for the news with the sweetheart in Sydney, Australia. Sydney, Nova Scotia, the one and only Amanda Curran. So please stand by, Robert. Always great talking to you. Thanks very much for joining us here tonight in the X-Zone from
pleasure.
Australia. X-Zone Nation, Robert Bruce is our guest. His website is astraldynamics.com, and Robert and I will be back after the news with Amanda Curran here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
This is News from the X-Zone. I'm Amanda Curran. Since the latest research has shown that the mysterious megastructure Tabby Star's rate of dimming has been on the increase more so now than ever before, astronomers now hope to gain insight as to what or who is causing it. Some reviews on a new paper suggest the possibility of self-replicating machines, or aliens, being the cause, and scientists are relying on the Las Cumbres Observatory Global Telescope Network, a successful Kickstarter campaign currently under development to capture one of the transits. Scientists reason that by using this telescope, they would be able to narrow down what the object may consist of, and if it is discovered to be a solid object, then the dimming light would be colorless, whereas if the object was comprised of dust or gas, then the starlight would redden. Only time will reveal the mysteries of Tabby Star, but we're definitely moving in the right direction. A world-changing catastrophe that was avoided over 50 years ago is only now coming to light thanks to a new report in the journal Space Weather. In May of 1967, all three of the United States early warning system radars were disrupted at exactly the same time, meant to indicate that the Soviet Union had launched a ballistic missile. Assuming that was the case, the U.S. Air Force took it as an act of war and authorized the mobilization of aircraft and troops in retaliation. Luckily, a group of scientists were able to show that the radars were actually disrupted by an incredibly powerful solar flare, which not only diffused the situation, but kickstarted the U.S.'s current research into solar activity. A flower-shaped crop circle, which appeared in a field near Whitehorse, has many residents puzzled and concerned. After someone posted a video of the strange symbol, crop circle researcher and photographer Matthew Williams went to investigate. Williams admitted it all stemmed from a rumor, as they were not directly told about it, which made it even more intriguing. It was only when we got to the top of Whitehorse that we knew it was real. It was nice to know we hadn't been sent on a wild goose chase. Although Williams is skeptical that aliens were behind these particular designs, sightings of irregular crop patterns date back as early as the 1600s. I'm Amanda Curran, News from the X-Zone.
Did you know that that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses a quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Join High Tech with Corey Kay weekly here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. From the world of computers to the ever-popular computerized gadgetry that are becoming part of our everyday life and living and society. From kids and their gaming devices, teens and their smartphones, to the applications of personal and business computers. From hardware to software, from standalone units to network computers. Join high-tech guru Corey Kay weekly right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network as he takes on the topics that will be of use and great value to the international audience of the X-Zone Broadcast Network. High Tech with Corey Kay, weekends at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Robert Bruce is our very special guest this hour, and Robert is joining us this morning from Australia. Now, if you'd like to find out more about Robert, his website is astraldynamics.com. Robert, we've talked about extraterrestrials. We've talked about, astral dynamics. When we were talking about, as you were getting ready for that out-of-body experience, you it's either you're meditating or something else. And we use the example of daydreaming. But a lot of people report that just as they're getting ready to fall asleep, their body is vibrating. What causes that vibration?
I don't really know. I can relate it to the vibrations I felt when the ET was doing something to me, altering me.
Right.
Those many, many experiences I had through my childhood and early 20s. The vibrations you get pretty consistent. Not everybody gets them, but probably 99% of people get them when they're having an astral projection. Just as the astral projection reflex starts to kick in, you get this whole body vibration and a falling sensation and often a very, very rapid heartbeat sensation that feels like your heart's beating at 400 beats a minute, and you kind of buzz out of your body. Now, the instant you are actually out of body, that all stops. But some people get it differently. Some people don't get any vibrations. They just separate. They feel a feeling of acceleration, and that to me now indicates that they are making a third eye or brow chakra type exit. Because what you actually going to feel depends upon the configuration of your chakras, your energy body, and the level at which it's operating at. The standard level causes whole body quite heavy vibrations. Not usually uncomfortable, but very, very noticeable.
Is there any possibility that when somebody is out of body, doing what they do, away from their physical body, that they may not be able to return to that physical body and continue their life as a human?
No. Well, there are cases that must occur around the world where people are having an out-of-body experience, and during the out-of-body experience they have a stroke or a heart attack or something nasty and physically die. And then the astral body of that person would just stay out permanently. Because when you die, the first part of you that comes loose when you leave your body upon the death of your physical is your astral body.
Yeah.
You have a very powerful astral projection, which contains a huge amount of energy and your consciousness that leaves your physical body behind. So understanding a bit about astral projection and indeed experiencing it for yourself, even if you only do it once or twice and stay out of body for 10 seconds, personal experience like this can greatly alleviate the fear of death. But I'll tell you why there's no possibility that you can be actually harmed during an astral projection, because your original mind and consciousness and spirit never ever leave your physical body while it still lives. An energy copy is made of your mind and your energy as a part of the astral projection mechanism. I call this the mind split effect. And upon exiting your physical body, the energy copy is generated, which is thinking and acting and recording its experience memories separately. And this is the key to understanding astral projection. You project a copy of yourself out of body. So if that copy were somehow destroyed by some forces I don't understand, then nothing would happen to your physical body, mind, or your spirit. You would still wake up the next morning. You may have a headache and feel a bit tired for a day or two, but that's about it, because the bulk of your energy and consciousness never did leave your physical body to start with. So if your astral body were destroyed, then life would still go on.
Is it possible that while you're out of your body, or should I say that your copy is out of your body, that a different spirit or a different copy may accidentally enter your body?
Or deliberately.
Or deliberately.
Because that was a concern of early authors and that worked in astral projection, because they didn't understand the mind split effect. I discovered it purely by chance, and I put an enormous amount of work into testing and retesting and, teaching other people to do it as well, and noting the proof is in the pudding. I mean, where I'm awake in my physical body, meditating in an altered state, and I have astral vision where I can see clairvoyantly into the astral, and my astral body is out at the same time, and it is experimenting on my physical body. And I met my astral self, you should say, and that's what started my exploration into the understanding of what I call the mind split effect. But yeah, it's keep in mind that only a small part of your energy and consciousness leaves your physical body. The bulk of your mind and consciousness never leave the physical body, so it is never left empty. The analogy of that have been used in the past, the physical body is left empty, like an empty husk. And of course, there's an obvious worry then, what if another spirit entity decided to inhabit me or possess me at that time? They could steal my body. Now, this is just logic. But it is only logical if you don't understand the mind split effect. And the mind split effect is quite provable to yourself when you examine the phenomena of astral projection and the case histories. Evidence of the mind split effect is everywhere if you know what to look for.
So when we are having an out-of-body experience, what is the difference between an out-of-body experience and a dream?
Well, dreaming and lucid dreaming, in my opinion, are properties of the mental body. Astral projection and astral plane projection, real-time astral projection, that's a property of the astral body. We have multiple subtle bodies inside of us, and the dreaming part is the property of the mental body, whether you're dreaming or lucid dreaming or wake-induced lucid dreaming. Now, there is a direct parallel between astral projection and the astral planes and mental projection and the mental planes. You know, if you're in the mental planes or the astral planes, they look and feel very, very similar, but it's occurring at a higher level. But, you know, they all involve out-of-body experience, you know, but it is very, very difficult to tell what you're doing. Most people, it's astral projection. Some people, particularly if they've got a lot of brow chakra, third eye activity, if they tend to be clairvoyant and psychic, will have more mental plane type experiences. But it's unfortunate, but these areas do not have signs saying, welcome to the astral planes, or welcome to the mental dimension. It doesn't happen. You have to guess through observing how it is, the properties of the experience and what you can do and what you can't do. And it's a lot of guesswork involved.
You know, going through the many topics that you discuss, you write about, you talk about, I came across Morgellons, or the fiber disease. I have had many people on who have been victimized, or not victimized, but have come down with Morgellons disease. And to my knowledge, this mystery still continues to this very day. What information do you have on Morgellons that may enlighten our listeners around the world?
Well, that's not a big area of interest. I have met dozens of people that have Morgellons syndrome or Morgellons disease, where they get those little fibers under the skin and things like that. But I can't really tell you where it comes from, I mean, or what its purpose is, apart from the fact that it appears to be strongly related to chemtrails.
Really?
Yeah, well, you know, chemtrails, you see those, they're like condensation trails from jet aircraft in the sky. And you'll often see, particularly the larger cities and that, the sky is crisscrossed with them. And unlike contrails, which disappear pretty quickly, these things will stay there all day. And there is there's kind of a dust inside of them.
Have you actually seen this dust, or the fact that these chemtrails are staying out all day? Really?
Yes.
So
mostly when I've been in America, actually.
So what is the analysis of the particles in the chemtrail?
I don't remember at the moment. Now, I mean, I've read about this. It contains aluminum and various other elements and that, but I really don't know a lot about that. But it is, of course, very suspicious that something like that's going on. It's almost like the governments of the world are experimenting on the population.
Or could it be that the governments of the world are trying to save the population?
Either could be the case. You say one way of looking at it would be maybe they're trying to shield heavy population areas from solar flare activity. Another way of looking at it would be because of the toxic nature of some of these chemicals that it is trying to change the population.
I like the premise that it could be because of solar flares. Or could it also be in the event of a non-nuclear attack, but an attack with an EMP detonation system?
Yeah, that's possible as well. But it's kind of strange that these chemicals are so toxic, and a percentage of the population reacts with them, and it damages their health. I would hope, if that is the case, that they are researching a better way of doing it, a healthier way.
Sure. So, based on, again, your experience, let's take a look at Bigfoot, Sasquatch, these mammoth apes who apparently are seen by few but proven by none.
We have them in Australia too. In
Really?
Australia, they're called yowie.
Yowie.
Yowie, the Australian version of Bigfoot. Unfortunately, I've never encountered one. It's on my wish list. But no, I don't know a great deal about them. But I think their importance is underestimated. I think they may have a lot to do with the evolution of the human race itself over hundreds of millions of years. They may have been a part of the equation.
So how could they exist after all that time? And how come there wasn't a Bigfoot on Noah's Ark? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. If there was a Noah's Ark.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still trying to figure out how the penguins walked all the way to the Middle East,
Yeah. Maybe the Noah's Ark did a pickup run like Santa Claus.
Yeah, but you know what? I came up with a theory years ago. And in fact, I wrote it. And it's called the Noah Ark what if factor. What if the story of Noah's Ark should have been in the place of Genesis? That the Ark was a spaceship. Noah and his family were the crew. And on board this spacecraft were DNA of a male and a female species from the places that this ark had either voyaged, or a place from where the original planet was going to be destroyed. And Noah was actually a space traveler.
That would make a good book.
I already wrote it. Thanks. I'll send you a copy.
Did you publish it?
I sure did.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting concept. I mean, there may be some truth in it too.
Yeah.
I mean, but so long ago, it's of course very, very hard to know these things, which makes them all the more interesting.
Sure. You see, I've never been one to take the Bible as the gospel. There's a contradictory term, isn't it? Taking the Bible for gospel.
Yeah.
Because there are so many inconsistencies within the Bible itself. But the Bible, in my opinion, is also the greatest source of paranormal experiences, supernatural experiences, miracles. And, you've got one little section there that has this deity handing to a mortal 2 tablets, the 10 Commandments. So it's filled with questions. It's filled with what ifs.
I agree with you. Cases of lots of demonology and even possession.
Yeah, and then
astral projection is mentioned in the Bible in a few places.
So maybe we're just rediscovering what we have already known in the past, but for some reason forgot during the evolution from then until now.
Yeah, of course. Well, you have to look. We've had nearly 2,000 years of intensive Judeo-Christian programming, going through from the 3rd century onwards.
Yeah,
which has given us, very, very put blinkers on human beings, and it gives us very, very black and white thinking. It's either of the Bible or it's evil.
When it comes to the truth, do you believe that there is a truth embargo out there, that the governments of the world are suppressing information and in some cases creating conspiracies for their own nefarious use?
I think so. there seems to be an enormous cover-up of our true history and the evolution of humankind. I mean, from what I can see in my personal experience and explorations, our current civilization is one of many, many civilizations that have been on this world over hundreds of millions of years that humans have been around.
Do you believe?
It seems to be the case that, like, if humans knew about the previous civilizations we've had on this planet here, it would affect the stock market, and and people would start feeling afraid because, I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there that there have been nuclear wars in the past.
Yes.
Scientists have found areas where to them it's obvious that a nuclear weapon was detonated there, but you're going back millions of years, so but the evidence is there. But, of course, it's not acknowledged today. It seems to be that the world today likes to have a really good bead on where we came from. We came down out of the trees and, sat down and watched TV. And we've evolved in a very linear fashion, which is very, very identifiable. It makes people feel secure. It's kind of, you can relate that to the Bible, I suppose, as well.
You can, yeah.
The Bible offers a truth of the history of the world, and and we've been programmed over 2,000 years not to think outside of that box because that's good for society.
And yet we live in a society where we still believe that academia and those who are part of the greater echelon of learning are very learned, that they would not steer us wrong. And then you read something like, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered the Americas. That's a bunch of bunk. We know that's not true. And yet kids around the world are still being taught that. Why? Because academia does not want to change what they have already believed in and pushed out there, which makes me think, well, wait a minute. If academia is doing this, is science also doing the same thing where what they're telling us isn't real? For example, how do we know 5-10 years from now a discovery will not be made that proves a lot of the beliefs and the theorems that Einstein came up with are false?
Yeah, possible.
Yeah. So taking a look at the big picture and the topics we've discussed in this hour, what do you think happens when we die?
Life continues. Most people, and the afterlife is an area I've been studied intensively for decades through personal experience, because I've learned I have a bit of a look around at what common knowledge is, but then I like to take a fresh approach to it and discover it firsthand. And most people, for example, if an atomic bomb landed on your head and mine right now simultaneously, we'd both say, wow, what was that? And we'd go on talking. And we'd go on talking for a very long time. Maybe weeks could go by. We wouldn't notice it. And then at one point we would say, wow, Rob, we've been talking for a long time. How about we get a cup of tea or something? You say, okay. And you would get up and I would get up and you would appear from behind my monitor and I would appear from behind yours. It would seem normal, like these sort of things do in a dream. And we'd go and make a cup of tea or something. And the kitchen could be my kitchen or your kitchen or a combination of them. And we'd have a cup of tea and maybe, have a couple of sandwiches.
Sure.
And while we're drinking the tea, at some point we may notice that you take a big swig of your tea and put it down, and then you glance away for a moment and your cup of tea's full again. And you take a bite of your sandwich and glance away and come back and your sandwich is whole again.
Geez, I like that.
This is the afterlife. There's free tea and sandwiches. How bad can it be?
Exactly, except in your case,
afterlife joke.
Except in this case, I'm not at home drinking tea and having a sandwich. I'm at the local pub drinking Guinness and eating chicken wings.
That's more my taste as well. Yeah, beer and chicken wings is great. Yeah.
Listen, we've got about 2 minutes left. First of all, thanks so much for joining us. But what are your final thoughts, your words of wisdom to the X Zone Nation tonight, Robert?
Chicken wings and beer is the meaning of life. And you've got to have a good folk band playing.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes a perfect life. Robert, thank you so much.
I recommend that people read my books because I've released an enormous amount of new knowledge into the world through my books over the last 15 years. And I highly recommend you read at least one of them.
And
go to my free, you have my website, astraldynamics.com, but my free community site is astraldynamics.org.
I see.
And that's where you'll find a lot of free articles and tutorials and also my forums. I've got a few thousand members and very, very friendly people.
Robert, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always a great pleasure having you on the show. And until the next time we meet, my friend, take care of yourself.
My pleasure. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye, X. Bye-bye, Robert. X Zone Nation, Robert Bruce has been our guest this hour. astralprojection.com and www.astralprojection.org. Well, that's it for tonight, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow night for the live version starting at 11 o'clock going until 2 o'clock in the morning. But now, stay tuned for the X Zone radio show, Vault Shows. And they're going to be starting on the other side of the news break, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network and on TalkStream Live. So until tomorrow night, my good friends, whatever you do, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. My name is Rob McConnell. Good night, everyone.